Hey Albert, why do people goon? Just watch this video, you'll understand. When most people hear about Albert Camus, they usually think about the Myth of Sisyphus, right? Like that famous book where he talks about absurdism and all that stuff. And honestly, when I first heard about it, I thought absurdism was just another depressing philosophy where people say life has no meaning and then they just give up. But Camus is actually very different from that. And today, I want to talk about that, not in some professor way or some smart philosopher type of explanation, but in my way, okay? And also how I think this connects to modern distraction, escapism, and honestly, Gooning too, because I think a lot of people completely misunderstand Camus. So firstly, Albert Camus was a philosopher and a writer, and he is mostly known for his philosophy called Absurdism. Now, Absurdism is kinda similar to Nihilism, but not really the same thing. Nihilism is basically life has no meaning, so nothing matters. And a lot of people stop there. They become hopeless, depressed, disconnected from life, whatever. But Camus says something different. Camus says the beginning of freedom actually starts when you realize life has no inherent meaning. And that sounds depressing at first, but for him, it was actually liberating. According to Camus, humans naturally search for meaning. We want to know why we exist, why we suffer, what our purpose is, what happens after death, and all that stuff. But the universe never really answers. In that conflict, humans desperately wanting meaning while the universe stays silent is what Camus calls the absurd. That's absurdism. Now, the thing is, most people cannot handle this feeling. The idea that life might not have some huge cosmic purpose scares people a lot. So instead of confronting that feeling honestly, people try to escape from it. And this is where Camus introduces the idea of philosophical suicide. Not actual suicide, but philosophical suicide. Basically, it means escaping from the absurd instead of confronting it. For example, Camus believed that a lot of people become obsessed with certainty because uncertainty terrifies them. Some people escape into blind belief systems, some into endless work, some into money, status, distraction, entertainment, relationships, addictions, or whatever. And honestly, modern society gives us infinite ways to escape. Social media, TikTok, Netflix, scrolling for hours, porn, gooning, constant stimulations. And I think this is where Camus becomes really relevant today, because a lot of people are not actually living consciously anymore. They're distracting themselves 24/7 because they don't want to sit alone with their thoughts. Think about it. A lot of people literally cannot sit in silence anymore. The second they feel bored or uncomfortable, they instantly open TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, porn, music, literally anything. Because silence forces you to confront yourself. And that confrontation is uncomfortable. You start thinking about life, your future, your loneliness, your fears, your purpose, your regrets. So instead of confronting those feelings, people distract themselves endlessly. And honestly, I think Gooning is one example of this. I'm not even trying to say this in some Sigma male self-improvement type of way. I'm talking about more like about philosophy, about Albert Camus' philosophy. A lot of people don't goon because they're genuinely happy. A lot of them are escaping loneliness, escaping boredom, escaping uncertainty, escaping themselves. Because stimulation temporarily kills self-awareness. For a few moments, your brain stops thinking deeply. And that's why these distractions become addictive. Not just because they feel good, but because they help people avoid confronting the absurd. And honestly, Camus would probably say that this constant escaping is a problem. Because absurdism isn't about escaping life, it's about confronting life honestly. And this is where the myth of Sisyphus comes in. Sisyphus was a man in Greek mythology who got punished by the gods. His punishment was rolling a giant rock uphill forever. Every single time he reached the top, the rock would roll back down again. And then he had to repeat it forever. Now obviously, if any normal person had to do that, they would think it's torture. Like imagine doing the same pointless thing for eternity with no reward at all. That sounds horrible. But Camus says something really interesting. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. And when I first heard that quote, I was confused. How is this guy supposed to be happy? His life literally sucks. But the point Camus is making is that Sisyphus fully accepts his reality. He stops hoping for some magical escape. He understands the absurdity of his situation completely, and instead of giving up, he keeps pushing the rock anyway. And somehow that acceptance gives him freedom. Camus believed human life is similar in a way. We wake up, go to work or school, eat, sleep, and repeat. Most people spend their whole lives chasing things that eventually disappear anyway. Money disappears, fame disappears, people die, everything ends eventually. And instead of being depressed about that, Camus says, good, now you're free. Because if life has no ultimate meaning, then you can stop obsessing over trying to solve existence and instead actually experience life honestly. Enjoy small moments, laugh, love people, enjoy nature, listen to music, talk to people, create things, experience life fully. Not because the universe gave life meaning, but because you are alive right now. And honestly, I think that's beautiful, because absurdism is weirdly optimistic, you know? It's just not like nihilism. It doesn't stop by saying life doesn't have any meaning, but it says life doesn't have meaning, so what? We gotta be happy. It's basically saying, yes, life is absurd. Yes, suffering exists. Yes, the universe gives no answers, but you can still live fully anyway. And I think modern people struggle with this badly. People are constantly trying to escape discomfort instead of understanding it. The second life feels empty, they search for more stimulation, more content, more pleasure, more distraction. But distractions never actually solve the deeper problem. That's why people can spend hours scrolling or gooning or consuming content and still feel empty afterward. Haven't you felt it after gooning? Haven't you felt, why did I did this? That's the emptiness you find after falling for distraction. Because distraction only silences the absurd, and it's temporarily, not permanently. Eventually, you still have to comfort yourself. And honestly, I think that's what Camus wanted people to understand. Not that life is hopeless, but that we should stop running from uncertainty all the time. We should stop needing constant distractions just to exist. We should learn how to sit with ourselves honestly. And maybe then we can actually start living consciously instead of just endlessly consuming stimulation every day. So, no, I don't think the answer is just stop gooning, bro. I think the deeper question is, why are people escaping so much in the first place? Because when you understand that, you start understanding yourself better too. Anyway, this is my interpretation of Albert Camus and absurdism. You know, just like I got introduced to absurdism not really long ago, and it's just this is how I personally see it after, you know, trying to search about Albert Camus absurdism, and also, you know, trying to read books about his philosophy. He's really a great person, a great philosophy to follow, and he is really like you start living life optimistically after you know, following absurdism. Absurdism is really, as I think, absurdism is the you know, the closest thing to perfect from every philosophy. So check it out. I'm not saying this is the only way, correct way to understand his philosophy. This is simply how I personally say it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree with Camus? Do you think people today are escaping reality more than ever? And do you think absurdism is depressing or actually freeing? And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.